Okay, I'm going to get started then. So thank you all very much for coming along. You're very welcome to this, our open evening for the MBA here at NUI Galway. I'm joined by a number of my colleagues tonight, but two that I would like to introduce you to first are the Dean of the College of Business, Public Policy and Law, Professor Geraint Howells, and the head of the School of Cairnes School of Business and Economics, Professor Alma McCarthy. My name is Martin Hughes, and I am the Programme Director of the MBA, and I'm a lecturer in Information Systems here in the Cairnes School of Business and Economics. I've been a lecturer here for approximately, well, just over 20 years at this point. Our agenda for this evening is Dean will tell us a little bit about NUI Galway and its college structure. Then Alma will speak for a couple of moments about the School of Business and Economics. Then I'll take back over again for a little while to tell you a little bit about the programme itself, and then introduce you to a few of the faculty members that contribute to the programme, and indeed others that contribute to the programme as well. We'll move then into the student engagement and career support services that we have, and come to the experience of the MBA itself, with respect to what you can expect by coming on board with us in your professional development journey. At that point, then we'll get to the probably what will be the most interesting aspect of the night for all of you, which will be to listen to some of the stories of our current participants and graduates of the programme. And following that, we'll take you through what comes next and open up to a question and answer session. So as I say, welcome one and all. Delighted that you are choosing to be with us on this beautiful Wednesday evening. So with that, Professor Geraint Howells, our new Dean of the College of Business, Public Policy and Law, would like to say hello.
Sorry.
Unmute yourself, Geraint.
Yeah, I've done the unmuting bit now. Thanks a lot for that. Yeah, thanks a lot, Martin, for the kind introduction. And it's great for me to be with you tonight in my first few months as Dean of this college. It's a College of Business, Public Policy and Law that includes 3 schools, one of which is the School of Business and Economics, the other is Law, the other is the Hotel Management College down at Shannon. And we also have important research institutions like the Whitaker Institute. Now, I only joined in January, and when I asked Martin what I thought I should talk about, he said, well, tell them why you joined us. You know, that's probably the best way to encourage people to join, by explaining your own thought process about joining Galway. And I thought that was a very good suggestion. And I reflected on that, and of course I'd made a big decision to come to Galway. I'd worked at several leading research universities before. The 2 posts before I came here were as Dean of a law school, law's my background, out in Hong Kong. And that was a great experience for me. And I was very pleased that my small law school in Hong Kong rose to be ranked 25th in the world in the Times Higher Rankings at City University of Hong Kong. And then more recently, I just came from Manchester, which is one of the largest and leading universities in the UK. But I think over 30 years in working in universities, I think there's 2 things you need to really have a wonderful place to study and work. And I think one is that you need strong faculty. And I think we've undoubtedly got that at Galway, where we're the top 1% of universities in the world. And you've only got to look at the accreditations, which attest to our strengths and the ability of our faculty. But I really do think you need to be on top of that. You need, I think, a place where collegiality is valued, and also there's a real commitment to the students having a special personalized experience where the student is catered for and put as part of the core activities of the university. And I think that is certainly true of Galway. I'm very struck by the collegiality of the place, the real determination to make sure everybody in the institution is respected and looked after, and the determination to give people a top-class personalized education. Now, I've seen that in many parts of the college and university so far, but I've got to say it's particularly strong on this MBA program. I've talked to some of the staff members on it, and I've seen their commitment, and indeed many of them have wanted to be here tonight to show that they're committed to giving you this truly personalized experience. Now, I know committing time to this program was a big choice for you to make. I have every confidence that coming to us will be a good, positive choice and the best choice you can make, and I'm looking forward to hearing with you more about the programme. And I'll pass you actually on to Alma, who's the head of the School of Business and Economics, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about the school which the MBA is located within.
Thanks very much, Geraint. And it's very nice to be here with you this evening. This is the second year we've done this event virtually, and I suppose we're all benefiting from the ease of which it is to come in and to attend events like this. But we're also looking forward to when we can be back on campus. So I am the head of the JE Cairnes School of Business and Economics in the university. And we have a proud tradition of over 100 years of commerce and business education at NUI Galway. And the MBA next year will be the 50th year of MBA provision, and Martin will speak a little bit more about that. Maybe if we advance the slide on to the next slide there, and I can just give a brief oversight maybe of some of the sort of highlights within our school. The MBA program is very close to my heart. I was the MBA director myself a number of years ago before Martin took over for 6 years, and I really enjoyed that and got to know got to know the MBA students very well during that time. And MBA students are a cohort of students that I always admire greatly. I've had the good fortune to teach MBA students pretty much since I arrived in Galway 18 years ago. And, you know, it's very demanding to take on an MBA, and I'm always impressed by the application of MBA students. And it's lovely to see the journey of growth and learning that happens when you get to know students as you do as a program director. So in terms of the School of Business and Economics here at NUI Galway, we have just recently attained AACSB accreditation, which is the global gold standard for business schools in the world. And we're very proud of that achievement. And I suppose it shows the impact of our research, the quality of our teaching programs, and the wider contribution that we're making to our region and to society and business in a broader context. So that accreditation, and likewise for the group that's here tonight, you'll see on the screen there, we have AMBA accreditation, which is the Association of MBAs, UK-based accreditation. And it's, but they accredit MBAs across the world. So that's a very useful accreditation when looking at MBA programs. We're very proud to have that here at NUI Galway, where the focus is squarely just on the MBA. There's a number of other, you know, awards here that are on the screen. The Athena Swan is focused on gender and diversity and equality. And I suppose when we draw attention to some of these particular accreditations, it's to show, I suppose, to prospective and current students the quality of the educational experience that you can get here. And this is ensuring that we are providing the best in class experience as assessed by peers and as assessed in global and international standards. So I look forward to maybe speaking more with you later on, and potentially having you as students if you so choose to register for September. And I also teach on the program, so I would perhaps see some of you in the coming years. So you're very welcome, and I'd like to thank Martin for giving me the chance to come in and say hello to you this evening.
Thank you, Alma, and thank you, Geraint. I want to focus now on the program itself and tell you a little bit about the program at NUI Galway. As Alma mentioned there in her introductory remarks, we're in our 49th year of delivery of MBA Excellence here at NUI Galway. Our program was established way back in 1972 with a vision to bring the very best in leadership education to the Western region. It was one of its first programs of its kind in Europe, and to date, over 630 individuals are graduates of the MBA program here at NUI Galway. And this picture on the bottom represents all of the program directors from the very first to, well, not quite the current. It's possibly around time now that they took my portrait, painted me up, and photoshopped me into this wonderful picture here. But it's a lovely image of the expertise and the guidance that we've had over the 49 years of our history of delivery of MBA excellence here in our region. Our motto is from regional edge to global talent, and if you think about from Donegal to Clare, we are a region on the periphery. However, we are a region of edge. And in our region of edge, we are a home for global talent. And increasingly in the space in which we find ourselves now, with an increase in remote working, we are a home for global talent in ways in which we didn't envisage even just a year ago. In our region, we are a people of edge, and we are a people who know what it takes to succeed in the field that we've chosen. And for some people, that journey will include an MBA. So what we're looking for on our MBA program is people of edge who want to perfect that edge to global talent through our MBA program. And our pledge to those individuals is that we will provide a curriculum of immediate value. We will provide an excellent integrated learning experience, and we will provide a vibrant executive development environment. We pledge to engender values consistent with the business for society agenda. We pledge to challenge you to discover and implement innovating success. We pledge to guide you on a transformational leadership journey, and we pledge to prepare you for accelerated career progression. In our MBA, we have structured the program around three core pillars or themes. The first of those, and most importantly, is transformational leadership. The MBA is first and foremost about you as a leader. And for us, the central pillar of our MBA is to transform you from where you are now to a global talent as a leader. It's an integrated learning experience. All elements of the program feed into this pillar, but there are four in particular. Leadership development module, which starts in year one and runs year long, and is delivered and led by myself and two industry coaches. We then have the International Leadership Gateway at the end of year one, which is about giving you an international and global perspective on leadership. And the third core component of this particular pillar is leadership and change, which is actually delivered by Alma, whom you met just now. And that's about understanding change within the organization and what it takes to lead change within the organization. And the final component of this pillar is about taking everything that you have learned on the MBA, finding an area of passion and applying your learning to that in the strategic leadership project, defining yourself as a leader within a particular space. Our second pillar is about innovating success. MBAs are about innovating success. They're about having the strategic capability to be able to identify what's required within our organizations to solve the difficult problems that we face with innovative solutions. And typically that's going to involve understanding and leading change within the organization by empowering people and teams. And our third pillar is about business for society, because we believe strongly here at NUI Galway that our leaders of the future need to be infused and enthused by the challenges that face us as a society and not just in business. We're proud of the fact that many of our MBAs are active in their communities and in society, from things like coaching in their local GAA club to serving on the boards of various charities, research institutions, etc. We're proud of the fact that people from Oxfam, from Cope Galway, from Skull Enterprises have chosen the NUI Galway MBA as their leadership development program. We're proud that voices such as Simon Community are heard during the MBA experience. And we firmly believe that of the challenges that face us as a race, as human society, as so well identified and defined by the UN in their Charter of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, we firmly believe that in order for us to be successful at those, that business has to be on board. And the only way business can be on board with those goals is by having leaders in our businesses that have this business for society agenda. With respect to the structure of the program itself, it's a 2-year part-time program. It's 90 ECTS credits, which breaks down into 18 distinct modules on the MBA. And across those 18 modules on the MBA, you will have over 500 contact hours with us. It's a blended delivery model with 2-day blocks as our normal, Thursday and Friday. In the second semester, there's 1 3-day block, so it'll be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. There are 5 blocks in each semester, and our blended delivery will be that 1 evening a week for 3 hours of live online class. And that live online class of the 1 hour per week is on weeks when we're not in on block. There's a residential leadership workshop, which kicks off the leadership development program in year 1. So that's the second block plus the Saturday of that particular weekend. The International Leadership Gateway that I mentioned earlier takes place in June each year, and that's a 5-day immersive experience. And throughout all of this, from the leadership development right through the ASLP, we're guided with leadership coaching and mentoring. At this point, I'd like to introduce and hand over to some of my colleagues in the school here who contribute to the program. And I'll begin with Professor Esther Tippmann, who's the head of management.
Thank you, Martin, and lovely to meet you all today virtually at the open evening. So my name is Professor Esther Tippmann. I'm Professor of Strategy, Leadership and Change, and I joined about 2 years ago. In terms of my involvement on the MBA program, I lead the module Strategic Management, and as Martin mentioned, I suppose developing your strategic capability is an important pillar of the MBA, and the Strategic Management module is an important component of enabling that. My other involvement is in what is in essence a capstone project, the Applied Strategic Leadership Project, and I co-deliver that with Professor Kate Kenny, who you will also meet in a little while. And that's, I suppose, yeah, your final module that ties all your learning together, where you tackle a real life organizational challenge and develop very, very impactful solutions typically. We saw our this year's MBA students presenting earlier today, and believe me, they had really fascinating solutions for their organizations with real impact, up to executive level impact. So very, very powerful solutions. Why I enjoy being part of the MBA program, I suppose, it's just so rewarding to see people accelerate, grow during the programs. And also then it is so rewarding maybe to receive little notes, even a couple of years later, to see where they went and to thank for the learning experience that they have received with us. So that's that's what I personally find most rewarding, being involved on the MBA program. So thanks Martin for the moment, and I'm looking forward to seeing many of you in autumn.
Thank you, Esther. And now I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Frank Conaty.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Martin, for the opportunity to be here this evening. As always, it's always very exciting to have an opportunity to talk to people who are considering this journey. I suppose, just to introduce myself, as I said, my name is Frank Conaty. I'm a qualified professional accountant, but I'm also an academic. And I suppose, yeah, my job here this evening is to maybe convince you that while accounting is critical to all of this and all we're going to do, that it should neither be intimidating nor looked on as something that is difficult. In fact, hopefully, if you come onto this program, I might be able to convince you that accounting might be fun. But a little bit more of that in a while. So, in terms of myself, as I said, I came to academia from the professional and the corporate world. And that's something that we feel is critical in delivering on teaching and learning outcomes in the field of accounting and in related disciplines. I graduated from UCG. That's what NUIG used to be called. So that's why my hair is this color. With the BCom, and I went on then to pursue a career in professional accounting. I was in the profession for 15 years plus, and then I moved into the corporate world in global hospitality and construction, and finishing up in stockbroking before answering the call to academia. So in terms of what our discipline delivers and it's a very much a collegiate manner in which we approach the teaching and learning for the MBA program. But in terms of our discipline, we're involved in 3 modules essentially. One is an introduction to accounting called Accounting for Managers. We then have a module that looks at performance management from an accounting and information perspective, and giving people the tools to look at how we manage for performance and what information we might need to do that. And that module also then includes elements of business ethics and governance. And we have a module on financial management. The approach to teaching, and I think that, again, this is similar right across the program. It's very much, when we're looking at accounting, we're looking at it from a practical application focused perspective. Certainly peer-based learning is key to what we do in the classroom. And you as students, you'll become an integral and active part of the learning process. We all learn, including the lecturers, as we appreciate and embrace the experience of others, because that's the richness of approaching learning in this way. But what is accounting and what is accountancy? Well, our aim is to facilitate you in developing the practical applied skills of accounting techniques and processes, for one purpose only: to allow you to become better at managing organizational performance through informed critical decision making. So for critical decision making, you need information. And the accounting that we will be talking to you about and introducing you to is not something that should be looked on in a vacuum. Everything we do on the program, we seek to integrate the knowledge across all subject areas and disciplines. So going back to that possibility that some people may feel, if you haven't been introduced to the world of accounting before, a certain anxiety about it, because it's something that I've come across for the uninitiated. Frankly, you know, as an accountant, I sometimes can't understand why everybody in the world doesn't love accounting. But let's be honest, some people can be anxious. And I like to I suppose, introduce to people to accounting in a way that might be a little bit different from that which you've come across before. And one way of looking at accounting that we certainly embrace is that it's a language. And it's simply that. It's a language that allows us to articulate about events, about circumstance, and allows us to gather and put together information that is going to be useful for decision making. And like all languages, it's got a grammar and it's got a syntax, and there are different dialects. So what do we do as accountants? Well, we tell stories. Yeah, that's pretty much what we do. We tell stories about the past, we tell stories about the present, and we're even so bold as to even try and tell stories about the future. So yeah, we tell stories. And sometimes the stories can be imaginative. Some people do tell porkies. That's why we do have standards to be consistent in the way we tell the story. But that's what accounting is. It's about being able to articulate about past events, current circumstances, and potentially project into the future, all for the purpose of informing us to help us make decisions. So on the program, through our modules, we want you to become conversant in this language in a practical sense. You'll not be asked to generate complex financial statements. Rather, you'll be introduced to the means by which they can be interpreted and used. I often liken it to a car. We'll not ask you to build a car, but rather we want you to become skilled drivers. And yes, while you will be asked to be able to change, you will be asked from time to time to change a tire or figure out how to put the petrol in the engine. But the ultimate aim is to be able to use the car to get to an objective, to be able to make informed, critical decisions. So you can manage more effectively. That's our objective in terms of the way we approach our modules, and I hope that has allowed you to get inside a little bit more what you would experience with us on the MBA program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I'd like to introduce you to another colleague, Professor Kate Kenny.
Hi there, Martin, and hi to everybody. Thanks very much. So my name is Professor Kate Kenny, Professor of Business and Society at NUI Galway. I joined a couple of years ago from Queen's University in Belfast, and I've been at University of Cambridge beforehand. So I teach on the MBA on the HRM module and also on the Applied Strategic Leadership with Esther Tippmann, who we've already met. So, I mean, for me, MBA teaching means one thing. It means as an academic, we publish at a high level. We're publishing in academic journals and publishing books. But really in the MBA class, it brings you right down to earth, because you're faced with practicing managers who are going to tell you what they feel about the real world application of your various theories and philosophies. And I love that. It's exactly as challenging as teaching should be. My area is very much focused on the ethics side of organizations. I look at corruption, transparency, and whistleblowing. Maybe the darker side sometimes of organizations. I look at power. I mean, organizations, as we know, can do great things, but they can also be dysfunctional sometimes. And what I found discussing these and our MBA classes are always very discussion focused, because students learn from each other as much as they do from us. I found it a place where people reflect and share openly how these sorts of dynamics play out in their own organizations. It's very satisfying to watch this. You see an element over the 2 years of trust emerge between peers and confidence, and people bringing each other on in that way. It can be sometimes challenging. I think with my research on whistleblowing, I sometimes contribute to say, I've been on RT Investigates documentaries or Drive Time radio, and I'd hear feedback from my mum and I'd hear feedback from the MBA students about exactly what they thought about those contributions. So there can be challenges too. One of the things that I do love is bringing speakers to the program. So recently, last year, for example, we had an accountant, actually Frank, a fun accountant, I would say, but an accountant from Citigroup who had given evidence against the US banking corporation to the US government in relation to corruption that was going on there. And so he spoke to a small group of our MBA students, and the Q&A was fascinating afterwards. And it was kind of questions you could only get from practicing people with experience that the MBA class had. So they were asking him how it was, how it felt to be disloyal to his colleagues by coming forward about this corruption. And always the case when speakers come to the MBA is speakers stay behind afterwards, because there's so many student questions, and it's genuinely really good engagement. So just, to conclude, whenever I reflect on the MBA program, people seem to, it's a time out for students. Sometimes it's a time out to move on and up in the organization you might be in. And sometimes it's a time out to make a change, a personal change as well, maybe as a career change, and or progression. And so you see that progression and you see that change over the 2 years, and it's really satisfying. For the Applied Strategic Leadership project is where I teach with Esther, and it's that where you really see this develop. As Esther mentioned, we've just come this afternoon from the final presentations of some of our students, where people have taken on serious strategic challenges that their organizations were facing. They've not only used their research skill to devise solutions to the problems, but now they're selling them internally at the highest level, and really thinking about how they can do that. It's not only the technical aspect, but it's the confidence that they've built, but also the confidence that their peers have given them. So these are, you can see from the comments students give to each other, that they have really brought each other on in that way. And it's a new kind of student I always find with MBA at NUI Galway, and previously, that one changes through the process, and that from a teaching point of view is really, really satisfying. So I hope to see some of you in September, and all the best.
Okay, thank you very much. And now I'd like to introduce you to another colleague, Mike Moroney.
Good evening, everybody, and you're very welcome. My name is Mike Moroney, and I work in the management discipline, where I lecture in management, strategy, and organization studies. In addition to my academic career, I've also had experience, 20 years management and professional experience in 3 government departments with a high-tech multinational in Silicon Valley in California and in the south of England, and in stockbroking research. I teach 2 modules on the MBA program. I teach management and organization in year 1, and I teach business consulting in year 2. And I really enjoy teaching the MBAs. It certainly is a highlight of my job. And the reason is basically that I get to work with a room of 30 or so professionals with a vast array of managerial experience and expertise. And this enables me to really leverage this in my teaching, in addition to my own practical experience. So my approach, therefore, to teaching, especially with MBAs, is to be highly discursive and highly interactive. I like to do a lot of problem-based teaching, which stimulates a lot of interaction in the classroom. So we get the opportunity to interrogate theory, but not just to have a theory focused. We get to see how the theory applies in practice, where it can be helpful to practicing managers, what its shortcomings might be, and basically, you know, it is a very strong learning environment as a consequence. So that's the way I do it. I tend to really eschew lectures, formal lectures in what I do. So hopefully that makes the classes more interesting. Certainly the feedback I've had from students in the past that is the case. And in semester one, in the first semester on the program, as I say, I take management and organization, where I introduce students to the delights of the philosophy of Peter Drucker, which is a key takeaway for many students. So I look forward to working with you soon.
Mike, thank you very much. And now two people that I've had the great pleasure and privilege of working with over the last 6 years are Deirdre McLaughlin and Niall O'Reilly, our leadership coaches. And Niall is here to say a few words this evening.
Thanks, Martin. Good evening, everybody. It's great to be here with you. Although I do prefer the live event for the finger food as much as for the company. But anyway, we'll have to make do for now with the virtual world. It's my pleasure to work on the leadership development module with my colleague Deirdre McLaughlin, who can't be with us this evening. We've soldiered together now for a good few years. I started my involvement with the program back in 2013, and I have to say that I've learned a lot and continue to learn every year from a fantastic mix of people that come on the program. So in the leadership development module, you're invited to an area of study that might surprise you. You're invited to come along and study yourself, mostly. We all have the potential opportunity to be the only world expert on ourselves. And it's an area of study that people don't often take up. But on the MBA program, you'll be invited to do that, to deepen your understanding of yourself, who you are, how you are, what you stand for, how you collaborate, how you influence, how you lead. The MBA offers a really unique opportunity for what we call vertical development. And that distinguishes itself from horizontal development, which is described as the acquisition of knowledge, and through the application of that knowledge in practice, the development of new skill. And the MBA offers lots of opportunity to do that, but it also offers the opportunity to develop vertically, which is to kind of extend your perspective, to deepen your understanding of yourself. And this is achieved by setting up the class itself and groups within the class to be deliberately developmental of each other. And we're very much there as facilitators. I make a living and have done for the last 17 years as an executive coach with a passion for individual development, team development, and organizational development. But as coaches, we really see ourselves as facilitators of the process rather than kind of holders of knowledge. I hope I'll have some knowledge that might be useful to you, but I think my value will be more so as a facilitator of your own reflection and your own development. And we've had some fantastic experiences down through the years. The assignments from this year's crew are in, and I find myself deeply moved reading those assignments and reading the impact that engaging in this vertical development process has had on people, not by gift of listening to me or Deirdre, but by the depth of the work that people have done with and on each other. So I'm really excited to be here and looking forward to meeting you all at the back end of the year, either virtually or face to face. And hopefully we'll be back pressing the flesh, as they say, by the time the autumn comes. So thanks for having me along, Martin, and everybody else. I look forward to meeting some of you in September.
Thanks, Niall. Thanks, Niall. And now, finally, and by no means least, Joe.
Thanks a million, Martin. Thank you. And welcome, everybody. I'm delighted to join you this evening, and it's great to see so many people interested in taking on the MBA. So I'm Jo Walsh, and up to recently, I was head of the Career Development Centre, and I've very recently been seconded for a year to work in a new role as head of student engagement projects within student services. So in that role, I'll be looking at how we provide supports to students, how we're structured to deliver those supports, and how to close gaps in our current provision in more innovative ways. But tonight I have my career hat on me, and here to talk about the Career Development Centre support to the Executive MBA programme. And for the rest of this academic year, I'll be supporting the class. And the mission of the Career Development Centre is to facilitate all our students to make successful transitions towards fulfilling careers. So we have 22 people in the Career Development Centre. More than half of those were hired only in the last 5 years, most of them coming from industry backgrounds. So I'm confident that the centre has a very strong skill set and has really solid knowledge and very current knowledge in terms of labour market trends, and is well positioned to support our students. When I talk to people about the Career Development Centre, I say, we support students in 3 key areas. One is around clarity, helping our students get clarity around their career direction, supporting career planning, career management, exploring yourself, like Niall referred to there. Second part is connecting students with employers, with other alumni. And then the third piece is to help our students to compete, with the creative job search and the tools of competing in the job market around CVs and interviews and LinkedIn. So those 3 areas, getting clarity around your direction, connecting with employers, and competing in the job market. We do those through various events, skills, workshops, one-to-one appointments, and we've built up a significant amount of resources, particularly in the last year. Now, of course, most of what we offer is targeted to full-time students. However, many executive MBA students have found the events in our programme of interest, maybe to meet a particular employer, and LinkedIn workshops in particular have proven to be very popular. However, we do offer very specific supports to the executive MBA class also. So you have the dedicated support in those 3 areas: clarity around your career goals, connecting with employers, and competing by the head of the Career Development Centre. And I have to say, I've really enjoyed this part of my role over the last few years. It's a welcome break, honestly, from working with undergraduates, and working with professionals is really rewarding, and it brings me back to my consultancy days. So I've really, really enjoyed it. So I'd be meeting you via workshops, reflecting on your past career decisions, transitions you've made, your career decision-making styles, then very practical workshops around CVs and interviews, and building on the learning from other inputs in the program, like Niall referred to there. You're going to be looking at yourself in those modules. So helping you to kind of consider all of those and using your career lens. So I think probably where most students have benefited in the past is via the one-to-one supports. So many of you, as Kate referred to, will start with a very clear vision of what your next step is. However, this might change as you journey through, and some will have a loose vision coming into the MBA of what the future might look like. And via that one-to-one support, we can really help you to crystallize that future vision. I also help people, previous students, with job applications, a lot of CV kind of deconstruction and reconstruction. So you start to present yourself in a different way. And then when you present yourself in a different way in your CV, you begin to see yourself in a different way and see the opportunities that you may not have been able to see before. We also help then with the interview preparation as well. So I suppose wherever you are in your journey and whatever your motivation is for taking on the MBA, you will be supported on your journey with professional career guidance, career coaching, and supports, so that we support you to make that successful transition to whatever the next adventure is on your career journey. So I look forward to meeting some of you at some point over the next couple of years. I'll be back in my role, I'm sure, at some point. So the best of luck and good luck in making that big decision. I hope tonight really helps you to do that. Thanks, Martin.
Joe, thank you very much, and thank you to all my colleagues for your time this evening. Just before I hand you over to our current participants and graduates, I just want to give you a short sense of the program from my perspective as the program director. For me, I think of it as a guided expedition to excellence, and I'm a kayaker, so when I think of expedition, I tend to think of expeditions across the fence of the sea or the lake, and in kayaks. And it's an interesting sport to be involved in, because while typically you're paddling your own kayak, you are operating as part of a team. There is a team lead out there, and they're helping and guiding those around them, sometimes in very, very subtle ways. Sometimes it's providing direct support, sometimes it's making sure that they're fully equipped and that they have the skill set, or that they're stretching themselves a little bit to be able to complete the crossing. It could be paddling skills, it could be navigational skills, etc. And it could simply be encouragement to continue. So all of those elements are relevant to the MBA itself. And sometimes we lead from the front, as Nial is doing here with Deirdre watching on a little in the corner. Sometimes it's time for us to take a back seat and let you, the participants, learn and develop for yourselves, but under a close watch from us. And sometimes we kind of get the hell out of the way and let you guys get on with it. As you can see in this picture, everybody in this picture is an MBA participant, getting on with the learning involved that day, and in particular being prepared to challenge each other, as you can see quite clearly in this particular photograph. As I hope you've gotten a sense of throughout the evening so far, it's not just our voices that you will hear throughout the program. We work with people of edge in our region, like Nial and Geraint, companies of edge within our region, and people of expertise from a broader region of Ireland and globally with respect to masterclasses and guest speakers across all of the modules. I did mention that we have a 5-day immersive experience in New York. We do hope that we're going to be able to get back to that next year. It's postponed for the moment, with various different plans in play for that. But our expectation is that with all the progress that's happening on vaccines, that this will come back as a core part of our program from next year onwards. And you might rightly ask, having looked at all of those pictures of people sitting around in rooms and people interacting with each other, and potentially going on a 5-day excursion to New York for the International Leadership Gateway element, well, what is the experience like online? And it's a perfectly valid question. Just last week, we had a module on storytelling for leaders. It was very intensive. It was 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the evening, 3 days in a row. And when I asked the participants to give a summary of that module, these were the words that they used: brilliant, connection, humbling, enjoyable, eye-opening, transformational, vulnerable, thankful, my best decision. So the experiences that we can create in the online space can be just as powerful as the experiences that we're used to creating over 49 years in the classroom. It has been challenging, but it's been very rewarding as well. And as some of the others have said during the presentation this evening, that the time goes very fast on the MBA. And before long, you find yourself presenting on an April afternoon for your ASLP to Kate and to Esther and to me and to the coaches and mentors that helped you along the way. And very shortly thereafter, you graduate with your MBA, and it's a wonderful occasion for you and for your family and the people that supported you along the journey. But that's not the end of the MBA journey. And I want to take you back to one individual, a former colleague of ours here in the school, Professor Jim Doolan. This photograph was taken in 2013 on Eyre Square. Jim in the center, his wife Caroline on his right, and on his left is JFK's nephew, Douglas Kennedy. Jim hails from Clare. He was a man of edge, a man that came to NUI Galway, or what was then UCG, to develop and nurture that edge. That journey took him to Harvard University, where he completed his MBA in 1959, meeting JFK on the day of his graduation. Transformed as a leader, transformed to global talent, Jim decided to return to the region, because this is where he felt his calling was to come back and bring that global talent to the region, and indeed with a vision of transforming the region with that global talent and with the help of others. In 1972, he determined that the time was right in order to establish the MBA here at NUI Galway, and inspired by his own desires to assist and have impact in society through his work as an academic, through his work as a senator. One of the founding pillars of our MBA is that having that sense of it being bigger than just the transformational leadership of the individual, that it is about the greater impact on society. And of course, the MBA is about innovating success. So just as Jim was innovating success himself within the region, by establishing the MBA, he was going to allow others to follow in the footsteps of transforming themselves, being inspired by a business for society agenda, but ultimately to innovate success. And 630 people have taken that journey with us in the last 49 years. This coming year, entry in September 2021, will be the very last entry in our first 50 years of MBA education. And those that choose to join us, those people of Edge that choose to join us this year, will be the last of that cohort of 50 and will be one of the first of our second 50 years of MBA education. People like Shane, like Edel and Connor, who all joined us on their MBA program in 2012, graduated in 2014, and subsequently went on to become the senior management team for Atlantic Aviation. The stories have moved on again from there. And seeing as Shane is with us tonight, I'll allow Shane to tell that particular story. So right now, what I'd like to do is introduce you to our panel of current participants and graduates, Shane and Michael and Sharon. So Shane, we will start with you.
Thanks, Martin. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shane O'Neill and I am the CEO of Atlantic Aviation Group, which is an aviation services provider headquartered in Shannon. As Martin said, I did the MBA in 2012, graduating in 14. We employ just shy of 420 people between Shannon and the UK. We have a number of services, but predominantly our core business is the maintenance and overhaul of large Boeing and Airbus aircraft. My background isn't aviation. I worked previously for an engineering services company in Sligo called Lotus Works. I was on the engineering side and I moved into the commercial side. I became commercial manager, and after about 4 years, 4 years in the business, I became commercial manager, part of a very, very good management team. And after a couple of years in that role, I wanted to do something that would help me in the job, but also help me as career opportunities arose above me, which I could see would happen. Something to help me take the next step in my career. Or if my future wasn't to be in Lotus Works as what transpired, that I had the skills and confidence to go for more senior leadership roles. In mid 2012, after we've been with the company for 8 years, I was speaking to someone called Caroline Currid. She's a very successful performance coach in the sports and business arena. She's a good personal friend, and she's actually been a guest speaker on some of the MBA masterclasses. And I was telling her what I'd like to do in my career, and she asked me a very, very simple question, and that was, well, what are you going to do about it, Shane? So there was an open evening the following week for the MBA that I attended, ultimately applied for the course, and I really haven't looked back since the course on so many levels, and I'll try and give you a sense of that. People say the MBA will open doors, but it has opened so much more for me. from a learning perspective, I still use some of the papers and refer to some of the notes when faced with challenges in the CEO role in Atlantic Aviation Group, and there are some serious challenges and have been, and I look to learnings from leadership and change, strategic marketing, corporate strategy, management and organization. And I literally go back on these files. I read some of the models. I use some of the tools and frameworks we've covered. And a very recent example of that is an SLT leadership development program that we've been doing and we put in place for the senior team, where we've used the 15FQ profiling tool as one of the inputs to the program, which as an MBA class we would have covered and been exposed to and would have completed ourselves. And that's, these tools are adding huge value to us. In terms of the class, there was huge diversity in terms of industry and in terms of experience. Some really challenging debates. But that's where the learning came from. Excellent lessons learned between each of us and between each other. But more so than that, some very valuable and lasting relationships. Post the MBA, Martin flicked up a picture there. Three of us got involved with Atlantic Aviation Group in 2015. Conor Flanagan joined as the CEO. I joined as the COO, and Nial joined as the head of strategy. The business had failed, and we set about transforming it and doing something special, really, with the investor, a guy called Patrick Jordan. And the three of us, along with Patrick and the other managers that we encountered and met in Atlantic Aviation Group, we talked about and used projects and assignments and models that we had covered on the MBA, and literally we talked about some cases that we would have covered. We likened it to some challenges we had, and there were serious challenges to get our teeth into, and we used them. After 2 years, Conor and Nial moved on from the business, but they remain involved. Conor's on the board, and Nial is a consultant and coach to some of the management team. In terms of progress, we've doubled turnover and we're still growing profitably in 5 years. Results that we're hugely proud of. We've made a serious impact, and we've led with impact. We've led with authenticity. We've led with a genuine respect for people, because that's where the magic happens. And I will always consider those results now where we are today, where we're very proud of what we've achieved, and we've a lot more ahead of us. But I'll always think of those results, and they were set in the foundation of those formative years when the three of us got involved and started transforming the business. And I don't say that lightly. I don't think we would have been able to do what we've done without, well, certainly having met each other, but with the learnings and the experience we gained on the MBA and been able to transfer that into the business together has been fantastic. Since then, one of the other graduates in our class has joined the investor on his investment in his investment company, and that's Gary Rainsford. And Gary is involved in the business now from that level as well. And again, Gary and I talk about different challenges in the business and other businesses in the investor's portfolio, and we talk about things that we covered on the MBA, and we brainstorm how we can help Patrick, address those ones. Taking it more locally again in terms of challenges, last year I had a HR challenge, and I wanted to talk to someone outside the business that was unbiased to help me with this. So I contacted Alma, and I was looking for a contact number for someone who had presented at one of the master classes, a lady called Eileen O'Riordan, a senior HR director in Pfizer. And again, this is the network. This is where I reached into to help with this challenge. I reached out to Eileen, had a chat. She helped me with the challenge no end, and I realized again what a really talented and unbelievable individual she was. And I remember sitting in the MBA class listening to Eileen speak the day she spoke to her, and something crossed my mind, and I said, I know I'm going to meet this lady sometime somewhere in the future, and I'm going to have to work. I want to work with her on something, or she's going to help me with something. And that was the HR challenge I had, and she helped me that day. But at the same time, we were looking for some senior strategic HR and business experience at board level, and it's something Patrick and I had spoken about, the investor and I had spoken about, and I had that responsibility of finding that person. And when I spoke to Eileen, I realised again how brilliant she was, and I pitched it to her. And Eileen came on board our board last year, and she's had massive value. Again, this is through the network of the MBA that solved another problem for me. In terms of challenges with the course, I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's difficult. It's hard work. But you know, once you make the decision to start, it starts, and there's going to be a start date and there's going to be an end date. Once you've made that decision, you're committed, and you will find ways in which to make it work. You will be sacrifices, but from my perspective, I think they're well worth it. Everybody says they get a lot out of the MBA, but the cherry on the top for me is this. You know, from a business sense, my career has progressed no end, and I'm still relatively young, and we still have a huge future ahead of us in Atlantic Aviation Group. But on the personal side of things, I was very, very fortunate to meet my wife on the MBA. So when people say they get a lot out of the MBA, you know, I certainly did. We married in 2017. We had a beautiful little daughter in 2018, and we're expecting our second child in 6 weeks. So I guess, you know, if you can top that one, that's a fair result for completing an MBA. I'll hand it over to the next speaker, I think.
Yeah.
Anne, is it?
Thank you very much. Our own special version of First Dates Ireland. No guarantees of a second date, but you never know what might happen. Our second speaker is Anne Ford, who is just finishing up her MBA at this point. Anne, over to you.
Thanks, Martin, and thank you, Shane. I don't know how I'm going to follow a fraction of what you've just covered. So yes, I'm just coming to the completion of my 2-year journey on the MBA. As both Esther and Kate referred to, we had our ASLP afternoon this evening. So it's been a long few days trying to get the last few deliverables over the line. Before we came on the call, I had my notes carelessly written, just the bullet points of what I suppose what for me was important on the 2-year journey. And I was talking to one of my classmates, and he challenged me to put out a question very nicely. And I see Martin getting nervous, and he just said, ask why would you do an MBA, and make everybody think. And that's the question for all of us on the MBA. It becomes about your why. Why are you there? Why did it happen? Why did you get the opportunity? What's your motivation? And if you can answer that with a certain amount of certainty or clarity at the start, well, then you're invincible. Nothing will stop you. And if you're a little bit uncertain and you start asking why, and you're starting to find your way through that, well, then you know you're in, and you're on a journey that's going to change things for you. And for me personally, I'm self-employed in the hospitality sector. When I'm at full staff, we have a team of 50. So for me, moving into an MBA was putting me into some sort of a quagmire, and that was when things were, that was pre-COVID. So it was a challenge to move from the small industry and the SME sector into what was a world of multinationals and large organizations, and a world where, of course, I wouldn't be confident or competent in that. But you get into the classroom and you start to learn about your strengths, and you know that all of the challenges are the same, small business and large business. It's the same journey and it's the same story. What the MBA does, it future-proofs you. It changes your thinking, changes your perspective. It makes you a leader, and it makes you creative with your change process and the change process of your business, your environment, or where you're working. For me, the magic happened in the peer groups, meeting people who, again, from multitude of industry, with loads of different information and knowledge to share, some of the challenging stuff, debates that went on in class, and that was really invaluable to us. The interactions, the open communication with the lecturers, and that freedom of, you know, just that, you know, sharing thought and not being made to feel that you didn't have some value in the debate, and that. I suppose leadership and change has been covered a lot, and Alma heads up that module in second year, and that was a huge journey for all of us, because it had followed on from Nial and Deirdre's work in first year. And we met some of our second years when we started, and they just said to you, you'll never be the same again after you do the vertical leadership. And there's a certain truth to that, because again, that changed your mindset. That just opened your eyes to how you saw yourself, but how you saw what was around you and who was around you. And that journey continued. And as Martin referred to, the leadership pillar is a huge part of the MBA journey, but it is about transformation, and it's transformation of self. But by transforming yourself, you transform everything that happens around you, professionally, personally, etc. Leadership and people, that was another huge element of it for us. Again, it was leading each other and dragging each other along and over the line. And Esther and Kate again referred to that. I mean, that's what you do in the MBA class. It is about supporting each other on the journey and seeing where it can go. Really enjoyed the chats from the lecturers there this evening, because they told the truth. They told the essence of their modules, and that the modules are very diverse, and you'll find some that you absolutely love, and you'll find the couple that will challenge you. What you will find at the end of it, that it circles back to augmented learning, and it all kind of interconnects and it makes sense, and you kind of see, I get it now. There was times on the journey, certainly in the last couple of months, where we didn't know where we were going, and then it's kind of like, oh, it makes sense now, but 3 months ago it didn't make sense, or that. So I suppose that's essentially, for me, that's the MBA journey, and that's where we're at. For us, the hardest part is over, but it has, for me, broken down barriers. It has built confidence. I certainly approach the business world now with a different kind of mindset. And to go back to my hospitality background, and that, we've undergone such a tremendous, challenging 12 months. Call it compelling. Hopefully we're at the end of that challenge and that, but this has been an invaluable time for me to be kind of stepping back and looking strategically at, what changes are coming, and the changes that are coming. I did it in my ASLP, with our industry is straying. The changes are going to be long-term and lasting. So for me, this has just been the most perfect time to actually look at, how can I change and make myself relevant into the future. So that's my story, and thank you.
Brilliant, Anne. Thank you very much. And now I'd like to hand you over to Michael Smith, graduate from 2020.
Thanks, Martin. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Anne. Great to hear some of the lecturers speaking earlier. It was like a trip down memory lane, so it was really, really good. I done the MBA in 2018 to 2020, and for me, I just echo everything that's been said today. There's 3 key points that I want to touch on, and I hope that'll help influence people as to really how it added value to me and to my own career. So I manage an organization, CEO of Skull Enterprises. Skull Enterprises is a social enterprise ultimately focused on challenging innovative solutions to social issues, to social challenges. So we have a staff count currently of about 50, depending on projects, and so it's quite small. But developing my own network, I'm from County Meath and arrived in Galway about 13 years ago. So developing my own network was a real driver in engaging in the MBA for me. And you get to engage with, the crowd that go before you, the class that go before you, and the ones that come after you. So there's a broad network there of about 60 people. And you engage with them right throughout the MBA, and look at it, it's a really enthusiastic, encouraging and supportive structure that's formed around that kind of engagement. And when you go into the MBA and take the 3 days or the 2 days out from your working life, there's a wealth of knowledge in the room. And once per month you get to sit down with these individuals that have that wealth of knowledge and engage in knowledge acquisition, growth, challenge your assumptions, and attempt to understand different perspectives. So getting to know the 60 people, the 20 before our class of 15, and the 20 after our class was really powerful. You felt like you could call them anytime. And developing that network for me was absolutely powerful. And that's all really down to the faculty at the university and how they structure the program and the courses and how they're delivered. Secondly, the perspective that I gained from having done the MBA, I found really powerful. Taking the 2 days away from the detail of the business. Running any organization is tough, but taking the couple of days away to focus on strategy and to apply different models or different mechanisms or different assumptions to your own assumptions and your own biases challenges you to look at things differently. You get out of the detail and you get to focus on the strategy. So we went from 3 employees to 50 employees within about 3 years. And when you focus on that type of growth, sometimes you can get sucked into the detail and focus on the doing and the managing as opposed to the leading and the strategy. Coming away and doing that in the MBA enabled me to really step away from that management perspective and focus on leadership and how we could set the company up for success into the future. The MBA, enabled me to have the tools and establish the right structures, systems to be able to lead from the front. And that perspective of just coming out of the detail monthly for 2 years and then being surrounded by, really top quality lecturers, top quality people that are all in the same boat as you, striving for the next steps in their career, it really cemented that that perspective and being able to come away from the detail. And then finally, one thing that hasn't really been mentioned to date, and I'm sure Shane and Anne will agree, is that being a general manager or CEO is lonely. It can be lonely because you're at the top of the pyramid and you have to make some hard decisions, and sometimes you have a leadership team around you can talk to, but often you can't talk about everything. So being able to go and trash out in a confidential and, as I said, an enthusiastic, encouraging and supportive environment, the challenges, the real day-to-day challenges and strategic challenges that face you and your company is absolutely powerful. It gave me the confidence to look at different areas of the business that maybe before I wasn't overly confident in. It even made accounting fun for me at times, as Frank says, but it gave me that ability to look constructively and critically and challenge specific leaders in the organization to ensure that we were going and making informed decisions, critical decisions for the right reasons. Whereas before, without having had that in-depth knowledge in specific areas, I did shy away from a little bit. So it gave me the confidence to do that. And I found that really beneficial. It was definitely the best professional decision of my career to date, and it has culminated in a change for myself as well. So currently with a great organisation in Skull and just about to embark on a new challenge at the end of May, I'm taking over as CEO of COPE Galway, which is another fabulous organisation doing absolutely wonderful work in Galway City and County. So taking over 180 staff and a huge turnover, but attempting to create some super change in some of the areas that is absolutely the most challenging that we see in our society today. So looking forward to that challenge, and without the MBA, without the support of the lecturers, the class and the classes before and after me, it absolutely would not have happened. It's as simple as that. Thanks, Martin.
Michael, thank you very much, and congratulations on that position, and best of luck with all of those challenges ahead. And we're here, even if it's just for a cup of coffee.
Cheers.
So the honour of being last to speak this evening then falls to Sharon, who is currently just finishing first year of the programme.
Good evening, everyone, and hopefully you're still all with us and enthused. Delighted to be here today. I've certainly had an interesting journey in my life. In 1994, I boarded a plane in Shannon Airport with a one-way ticket to Boston and a green card. So that was for 1 year. It turned into 20 years. Along the way, I picked up a husband and managed to have 3 children. And in 2013, I returned to Ireland. I have been within the technology sector for about 26 years. I'm actually 22 years working for Fidelity Investments. We're the largest privately held financial services firm, United States-based financial services firm. And like I said, I've always worked within the technology realm of that particular company. And I guess for me, you'd wonder, well, and I've had a very successful career. I lead 300 technologists across our asset management business, across our institutional business, and actually across a very new and exciting area, which is digital assets, Bitcoin, and all of that fun stuff. So, I've had a really great career, but I've also had, I think what Martin kind of spoke about is that global experience, right, of living and working in the United States. If anything, I knew more about how the United States works than I did how a lot of things worked here in Ireland. And I subsequently in the US actually went to Northeastern University for college, because when I left, I had literally just finished my Leaving Cert. And it was all driven by that green card. So fast forward to 2019, or 2020, when I sat on this same call, contemplating whether I would do an MBA or not, with a lot of questions and a lot of fear, etc. But really, I guess for me, just sitting there that night and listening to everything, it definitely felt like the right thing for me. Certainly, I hope there's continued advancement within my own company was primarily probably why I chose to do the MBA. Secondly, maybe someday I'd like to do something different. I don't know what that is. I still don't know what that is, but I know the MBA will facilitate that. And then thirdly, because I didn't go to college here in Ireland, I figured why not have that experience and have that, to do that literally on my doorstep here in Galway. It's a fantastic region. We are definitely heading into a new world. I'm not sure it's going to really matter where we sit. And we do live in a fantastic part of the world, a region that we should all be very proud of. And I think, you know, the MBA is one place certainly that has showcased the talent that exists in the west of Ireland, and the roles that people can take and can play in a global sense, not just in the region sense. I guess for those that are considering this, you know, there's a couple of key areas I would say. You know, certainly look at your family lives and make sure that you've got that support. Whatever that construct is for you is going to be extremely important. It'll be your backbone of how you get through the MBA. I would also say if you are doing this with the support of your current employer, again, have those conversations, be really clear with what this is going to mean. I think we've spoke about it. You will check out of your work, and you need to be able to do that, to be present, to engage, to get the most that you can get out of it. You need to have that in place, because that support is really what is going to get you through. And I am not going to sit here and sugarcoat. Your time is not your own. There are many nights, weekends, and hours of the day that I absolutely questioned my sanity in the last year as to why I did this to myself, to take away all that wonderful time that I had. And I had the privilege of handing in my last assignment to Kate last Sunday, and I literally did not know what to do with myself on Monday. I was like, are you kidding me? I've got all this time. So, you know, I think all of the previous speakers to me, it's a fantastic supportive network. You know, yes, you want to go on the MBA, you want to personally do well, but nobody will get left behind. You will bring strengths to conversations you probably never even knew that you had strengths in. You will bring along people, they will bring you along. They will absolutely be subjects that are just not your cup of tea, and that's okay. It is about that collective bit of learning, but for me it has been, you know, some of the real key highlights, some of the master classes. I had an opportunity to interview Gary Hines from the Thyberg Theatre. Now that's something I'm sure News Talk won't be running after me for interview skills or interviewing skills after that, but a fantastic experience. You know, our study groups, leveraging those study groups that we set up amongst each other to support each other through any of the assignments or topics. You know, the group work was fantastic. We got an opportunity to write a marketing plan for Goal. They actually took some of our ideas. So to sit and watch the social media platforms, to see some of the ideas you put forward being put into use was just, you know, a phenomenal experience, and one I certainly wouldn't have got in my current role in my industry. I would also call out, I am the one of the 2 recipients of the 30% Club scholarship. So for those of you who are female in the group, are in business in any capacity, I would strongly, strongly encourage you to apply for that scholarship. I firmly believe and have great alignment to the philosophy of the 30% Club and their charter about promoting more women in business and onto boards. I'm just delighted that I've had that opportunity to have that connectivity into the 30% Club. So for those of you who might need that additional financial reason as to go on the MBA, certainly I would look into that, and happy to talk to anyone that might be considering that. So just look at overall, it has been a fantastic experience. Like I said, I'm on a journey. My poor direct reports are literally guinea pigs for the applied learning. Everything that we do, I go back and I try. So you do grow and learn. You will not wait to the end of your MBA to apply what you're learning. You will do it all the way along. And you know, Mike Moroney there, the Peter Drucker, I have the book, I'm flipping through it. You know, it's fantastic. And you will, you know, it does broaden the perspective. I often joke, 22 years sitting in one company, you become institutionalized. So the MBA gets you out of that, and the diversity of the people in there, the industries, the professions, it's profound. But most importantly, if I was to leave you with anything, you will absolutely build the most invaluable, trusted set of a network out of the MBA. I had the opportunity to sit with one of my peers this morning over a cup of coffee, and she's applying for a new job, and just to be able to support each other in that and give back and share, you know, it goes bi-directional in so many ways. So look, best of luck with your decision. You've probably made the first best step that you can. Continue that journey, and I hope you do consider selecting NUI. Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon, and thank you to Shane and to Michael and yourselves of great insights into the program from the participants' point of view. As Sharon mentioned, there are some scholarships available on the program. There's the 30% scholarship, which is only open to female applicants. It has a specific agenda, which is about trying to promote participation on boards, boards of directors, to achieve 30% representation on that. But it's a reward for ambition rather than achievement. So anyone listening in tonight can potentially be that person that will sit on the board in the future. But there are a number of other scholarships which are not gender specific. So the information for those is available on the website for the MBA, as are the links to apply for the program. So you may have made up your mind already. If you want to apply, you can do that. If you have questions that you would like to ask, we'll move into a question and answer session momentarily. And the other option for you is, if you feel that you'd like to discuss your situation and the MBA and whether it would be the right option for you, I'm very happy to have a virtual coffee with you to chat about yourself, to chat about the program, and fundamentally and most importantly, help you come to the best decision for you. The greatest privilege that I have in this job is the time that I get to spend chatting to prospective, current and former MBAs. With that, thank you very much for being with us, and I'm happy to turn over for questions. And if you want to unmute yourself, ask a question. If there's lots of questions, put up hands, or if you want to put a question into the chat, we can get to them that way as well. So each module is assessed as you come through the program. Most of them are assessed in a continuous assessment fashion. So typically that you would have team reports that you're working on together, reflective assignments, etc., a wide variety of different assessment methods, but each one is, each of those 18 modules is assessed in its own right. Yeah. So thanks very much for the comments, for joining us tonight. It's wonderful to have you with us. All of those dates are up on our website currently, and my colleagues have just popped in a link on the chat to the website, and you'll be able to see them all there for the coming year ahead.
Thank you very much.
No, maybe I can take that, given that we're in the middle. It does ebb and flow, right? As Martin said, it's continuous assessment, there's group projects. We would have gathered in a number of offline sessions with the groups that we had. So, for me, it was putting in a good number of hours every evening, and again on the weekends. But it really all depends on what is due and the cadence of which is due. But I have to say, give credit to the faculty of the coordination amongst them to spread it out, and even adjusting dates for when our assignments are due in, because there might have been one or two colliding, has just been fantastic. So it's up to yourself. Like I said, we formed study groups, we divided and conquered in some of the material, we summarized for each other, and all of that. So it is about finding that groove, but certainly I would be putting in at least 3+ hours on an evening, and again fairly decent sized chunks on the weekend. And then some weeks you could, if assignments weren't due and it was mostly reading, then it probably was a little less. I hope that helps.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Sharon.
Hi, Fiona. The only thing I would add there to that would be to say, to be motivated by what brought you in onto the MBA in the first place. So some people will come in and they want to achieve very high honours or indeed first class honours, and others come in because it's more of a personal growth and development journey, and maybe they want to do well in certain areas and they're not as academically focused on some of the other modules. There's huge learning on the MBA that isn't necessarily captured in that kind of academic assessment as well. So it is about setting your own goals and deciding what it is that you want to achieve. We interview on a rolling basis. As soon as you apply for the program, once all your CV and your personal statement are in, we will contact you and set up an interview within a few days and take it from there.
Just if I was to echo Sharon, just there's an approach I think that's important to take to it. The first semester and first year tends to be a little bit chaotic as you find your feet really on the level of study, and that's where it's critical that you engage with the second year class cohort to get a little bit of direction on it, get the study groups going so that you're sharing the notes. Everything is very accessible, and Sharon spoke to the flexibility of the lecturers, and that really does help you get a bit of balance on it. So I suppose you're looking at 15 to 20 hours if you're to break it down kind of a week. I suppose you're looking at 2 to 3 hours most evenings, a little bit on Saturday and Sunday. But critically, I think it can take over if you're not careful, and we were only talking about it this morning. Again, just every now and again, step out for that little bit of balance. Remind yourself to get some fresh air of that, but just and keep your focus on it. As Martin said, why are you there, and what's your agenda? You'll put in the work and you'll get through it without any difficulty. And then if you decide you really want to go crazy, you can knock 40, 50 hours out of it if you really want to. But at that stage, you're getting distracted from what you should be doing.
The current second year class is 23, the current first year class is 26. Our aim is to be between 20 and 25. Okay, so pre-COVID, everything was on campus, and we were actually considering about how we would move some material into the blended environment. And then obviously that was forced upon us. So we've, out of necessity, had to move everything to online in the last year. And what we did was we stuck to our block timetables, because otherwise everything ends up all over the place. And that worked really well. So the teaching days were essentially 8 in the morning till 6 in the evening on the 3 day. If it was a 3 day block, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If it was a 2 day block, Thursday, Friday. As we progress into what will become normal after COVID, our expectation is that we will be a 2 day block format on campus with 3 hours during the week on the weeks that we're not on block. So that those Thursday evenings, most likely, that we're not on block, you'd have live classes of online learning, and they'd be interactive. They'd be just like the classroom experience, except that they'd be online. One of the things that we've discovered is you can do wonderful things in the online space that perhaps we hadn't thought we could do when we first thought about doing some blended learning. But great question. Thank you, Kevin. It varies. What I like to do, as I just did at the end of the session there, was I like to invite people to have a virtual coffee with me. And sometimes the outcome of that is that people choose not to apply from that, or they might say, well, I'm not ready for this year, etc. So a lot of people would take that option to have the virtual coffee. So in terms of then actual applications, typically we would have somewhere in the region of 35 to 40 that would follow through with an actual application. Occasionally, yes. Okay, good question. So semester for us is typically it's a 15-week period, right? So it runs from early September into early December, and then it runs from mid-January through, depending on where Easter falls, into April. As I said, all of the dates are up on our website. Well, there's a closing date, Fiona, when the program is full, for sure. And there's a closing date for the scholarships, which is what you probably want to keep a close eye on. Other than that, you know, we accept applications on a rolling basis. Typically, most applications will come in post the open evening, and in this period from now late April across the month of May, scholarships in June, and usually the program would be full by mid to late June. Yes and no. Yes, you have to pass all of your modules to move into year two. That it has never happened that somebody hasn't at least passed them all to get into year two. Shouldn't be too worried about that, Ken. Sit beside Sharon. That'd be my tip. Okay, I'm going to suggest, unless there's any quick final questions, I want to thank all of my colleagues for being here this evening. I want to thank especially Niall and Joe as well, and most especially want to thank Shane and Michael and Sharon for taking time out to be with us this evening. I think they have provided the greatest insight and probably the biggest value to those of you who are considering the program. And as I said, if you want to have a chat about yourself and the MBA, and if the result of that chat is you decide that the MBA or our MBA is not for you, that's not time wasted for me. So quite happy to do that. Just get in touch with us. So thank you very much, everybody.